Look at Julie on Young Talent Time doing one of her performances, and then we'll have a little chat. Just a blushing moment for you, Julie. Here it is.
If we can make it, well, just wait and see. So come on, now let's try it. I love you, can't deny it, 'cause it's true. I do, I do, I do, I do.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
And when, like I mentioned before, when people ask me when they're walking down the street and they say, you know, that Julie Ryles, the one with the long legs that used to do all the dancing, you used to spend a lot of time with Maggie, who was the choreographer.
Sure did.
Was there a lot of work involved for you in rehearsing for a show and getting routines together?
Straight out of the TV1 time tunnel, it's the Cavalcade of Stars.
Now, don't fight over the bits and pieces, okay? Yeah, that's it. Oh, this, by the way, is the Young Talent Time game. During a dance routine, you twist your ankle and are unable to continue. You'd better sit this one out. Miss your next throw. This is one of our Young Talent Time board games, and the kids are really enjoying it. It's got pictures of Johnny Young and Vince Deltio, Danny Minogue, Natalie Miller. What's this one? No, come on, just lend it to... See, they get so precious about it. Look at this. That is Joey D. And girls, the guy that's been sitting next to me is this guy.
Oh,
this is Joey. See, it's the bit. How are you, Joe?
Good, mate. How you doing?
You've grown a little since then.
Just a little.
The cravat was a little gentle, wasn't it?
A little bit gentle.
And this was so much fun. Do you ever get embarrassed over the Young Talent Time years?
Just proud of it, mate.
Proud of it?
Yeah, fantastic, I think.
Do you still have these board games and Young Talent Time things at home?
Everything. I've got this microphone and a guitar. Remember the electric guitars we had?
Yes.
Still got those, yeah.
Fantastic. And of course you sing with your band and do all of that sort of stuff around Australia, so you're still an entertainer.
Still in there.
Is there, and I mean, people, I guess, must ask you from time to time, you know, what were the Young Talent Time years like? What were they like for someone like you?
It's great experience, you know. Just, I think, total experience of the industry, you know. It's just fantastic.
Learning all about the ins and outs of television work.
Definitely.
Are you still dancing as well as what you used to?
Not as much as I used to, I think. I get a little bit too big for that. I think. A bit too tall.
You have grown a minute or two, Joey. And, you know, of course, people often ask me, too, about relationships within the Young Talent team. I mean, were you secretly in love with any of the kids in the show?
It must be Danny. I've always been in love with Danny, but...
Danny Minogue?
Can't tell her that.
She's probably watching tonight. Good on you, Joey. Well, we wish you all the very best of luck, and thank you for popping in and saying hello. Stick around to the end, because we've got to sing All My Loving together.
Oh, no problem.
And pop in from time to time on the Cavalcade of Stars and say hi to all of your fans here. There you go. Look, you can get him to sign that, okay? And now, here are some rock and roll classics on the Cavalcade of Stars. This is my mate, Bevan Addinsall. You know, a lot of kids on Young Talent Time had specific ambitions. When Greg Mills was a young boy on the show, he always wanted to be a musical director. Julie Ryles wanted to be a choreographer, and he did. Debbie Byrne wanted to be a stage star, and she became a stage star.
Fabulous one, too.
Bevan Addinsall wanted to be Johnny Young. You wanted... Didn't you?
Oh, I wanted to host a show, yeah. I thought that maybe if you were sick a couple of times.
Okay, well, why don't you do a 60 minutes in-depth interview with me? You know, like ask me those kind of questions like...
what sort of food do you like?
Go on.
The colour blue?
That's it. Ladies and gentlemen, here's the new host of the show, Bevan Addinsall.
Thank you, and welcome back. Nice to be here. John,
yeah.
I actually... Now,
That's
look,
funny.
Thank you very much. I've had a good start. I know that when I was in Young Talent Time, I wanted to start performing as a very young person.
Is that a serious question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Because you see a lot of people, and already in Cavalcade of Stars, we've seen that Greg Mills and different people, what they've been doing in the past.
Yes.
Well, not many people get a chance to see what you're doing in the past, so I wouldn't mind asking you a couple of serious questions.
Please, go right ahead.
In fact, when did you start to know that you want to be a performer, for instance?
I think probably a bit like most kids that have gone through and the kids that are watching Cavalcade of Stars now. When I was about 9, I had a dream that I was standing on a stage in front of a red curtain. Now, I'd never been in a theatre with a red curtain, but you can see. And then when I was about 17 and I'd made my first recording and I was in Perth, ready to come over to the east to launch my rock and roll career, I was standing on this stage singing and I turned around, this was this incredible red curtain, and I thought, wow, you know, my dream has come true. So it started very young for me. I don't think I know how to do anything else, really.
I'm probably a bit the same. Now, you wrote some great songs early in your career, didn't you?
Well, not early in my career. Early in my career, I was a rock and roll singer because it started very young. I had my first TV show in Western Australia where Cavalcade of Stars is shown too on Channel 7 over there, called Club 17. I was 16, 17 years old. So that was the beginning. But then after a few years of being a rock and roll star, you know, that sort of star faded, and so I had to find something else to do. Yeah, so I started writing songs, and the first song that I wrote was The Real Thing for Russell Morris, which, you know, pretty good way to launch a songwriting. That was a good start.
Also Smiley, you did for Ronnie Burns, didn't you?
Yeah, that was my Vietnam War protest song. That was 1969. That's 30 years ago. I am old.
Yeah, but you're not looking that old. Now, that's something a lot of people say too.
No facelifts.
No, that's right. You've been, Young Talent started now nearly 30 years ago, and you don't look much different to when you first started.
Well, first of all, because my name's Young, I think that has a bit to do with it.
That's exactly right.
You know, if it was Johnny Ugly, I'd probably look at it.
Well, we won't even go there.
But no, that's true. And you know, without being sort of cyclically about it, I think it's a matter of how you feel on the inside, and I'm lucky working in an industry and working in the part of the industry where I'm always involved with younger people, and it keeps me that way.
Makes you feel young.
Yeah, that's the plus. I'm a happy boy. I love what I do, and I think that's the most important part.
And you do it well.
Thank you.
You do it very well. Well, in 30 years since Young Talent started in 1970, 1971, what would be some of your fondest memories, you think, of the show?
Of Young Talent Time?
Of Young Talent Time.
All of it, really. You know, I think probably my favourite thing about Young Talent Time these days is when I walk down the street and people come up to me and they say, you know, I grew up with you, and I grew up with your show, you know, and I grew up with Bevan and Tina and all that.
I relate to that.
Yeah, and the thing that I really love more than anything is the genuineness about that. You know, people, even if they hate a superstar, they come up to him and they say, oh, I love you, I bought all your records, even though they may not have.
Yeah, that's right.
But when I, you know, meet people and they genuinely know the people that were on the show and they used to watch it every Saturday and sing All My Loving and do all that stuff.
I still remember the words to that.
Do you?
Oh, funnily enough.
Close your eyes and I'll kiss you. Are you finished with your interview now? You're occupying a whole bunch of airspace here on our program.
I had some very juicy stuff to be talking to you about, John.
Uncle Paul, has he got time to do a bit more 60 minutes? Okay.
Oh, come on. Alrighty.
I used to. It was funny because in those days, unlike today when you do a concert that goes for, you know, hours and hours and hours, when I started as a pop star, you only got to sing 4 or 5 or 6 songs.
Okay.
Right? But now, if we were doing 4 or 5 shows in the night and we had to cut the show short, you'd go down the front of the stage, put your hand down into the audience, they'd grab you by the hand, pull you into the audience, show's over, onto the next one, right? So that was the way to halve the shows, get your clothes ripped
I got in a lot of trouble once, well, not a lot of trouble, but I did the very same thing in Rockhampton when we did a concert in searing heat, and we'd all said goodbye after we said that we did Clap Your Hands, and then we did All My Loving, and they're going, Bevan. I just, the most stupid thing, I'll never forget Karen Dunkerton at the time went, no! And the second I did it, I gone. So then it took about 5 people to try to get into the audience, get me back up on the stage. I loved every minute of it, but that's another story.
We should talk more about this. That was a very... Give him a round of applause, everybody. A very good job. You should be a television host. Absolutely.
Doing my best.
You're doing your best. Ladies and gentlemen, stick with us on Cavalcade of Stars. You never know what...